You won't believe what just happened in Venezuela and why it could change everything you thought you knew about oil, gold, and silver. This isn't about geopolitics or drug wars. This is a massive opportunity that could impact your investments for the next 20 years. Right now, as you're watching this, Venezuela's oil reserves are being eyed by global giants, and it's about to set off a ripple effect across the entire commodities market. Stay tuned, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how this seismic shift is happening, and more importantly, how you can profit from it. But before I dive deeper into the details, here's why this matters to you. So, what actually happened? Last Friday night, the United States launched a military strike against Venezuela, capturing Nicolas Maduro, who now faces charges in New York. But here's the kicker. The oil infrastructure, untouched. No bombs on the production facilities, refineries, or export ports. It's almost like the U.S. wants the oil to keep flowing. Think about that. Why? Because Venezuela sits on a gold mine, 303 billion barrels of proven oil reserves. That's 17% of all the oil on Earth. Imagine the Saudis, Russians, even the Iranians looking at that. It's a massive untapped reservoir. But here's where most people miss it. Venezuela's oil isn't your average crude. This is heavy crude, thick, sticky, and incredibly difficult to extract. So why would anyone want it? Well, because it's about to change everything. But you have to understand one key thing. Now let's talk about why this matters more than just the politics. Venezuela's oil is heavy crude. It's tough to pump out. Imagine trying to suck peanut butter through a straw. It's not easy. The Middle East, that's like a straw on the ground with oil pouring out. But Venezuela's oil? It's a beast to extract. At its peak, Venezuela was producing about 3.5 million barrels a day. Today, less than 1 million. And that's what happens when you let 1,000 generals run the country. Seriously, that's how many generals they have. The infrastructure, it's 25 years old. Experts say it's going to take up to $100 billion to restore it to previous levels. But here's the kicker. Trump says they can fix it in 18 months. Experts say it's going to take years. Who's right? Let's think this through. The U.S. wants Venezuela's oil flowing again, and they're willing to spend big money to get it there. But it's not just about the oil. It's about the system that's about to shift. So what happens next? The situation in Venezuela is about to escalate fast. Think about it. The U.S. has already captured Maduro, but the real challenge comes next. It's going to take years to rebuild the oil infrastructure, and the cost will be astronomical. But here's where it gets interesting. When it's finally up and running, Venezuela's oil will flow straight into U.S. refineries, many of which were specifically designed to process heavy crude. These refineries are set up for oil just like Venezuela's. So what does that mean? The U.S. could reduce its dependence on Canada, its biggest supplier of heavy crude right now, and start buying directly from Venezuela. That means lower energy costs, less reliance on Canada, and an oil market shakeup. But why isn't everyone talking about this? The fact is, this shift could change the global energy balance, and the winners are already positioning themselves. But the clock is ticking, and things are moving fast. But here's where the story flips. While the U.S. has its eyes on Venezuela's oil, the rest of the world is catching on to something far more unsettling. You see, the U.S. doesn't just want the oil, it wants control of the entire process. The companies involved, Exxon, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, are already stepping in, ready to rebuild Venezuela's infrastructure. But here's what most people miss. The U.S. isn't just buying oil, it's strategically positioning itself to influence the global energy markets for decades. And that means massive money flows into U.S. hands. This isn't just an oil play, this is a geopolitical reset. But here's the part no one is talking about yet. What happens when Venezuela's oil starts flooding the market and these U.S. companies begin raking in profits? Now, things start to unravel quickly. While U.S. companies are lining up for the rebuild, there's a bigger storm brewing. You've got a double crisis emerging. First, Venezuela's oil is about to disrupt the global supply chain. Once that heavy crude starts flowing again, it's going to hit Canada hard. Their oil industry in trouble. The U.S. will no longer need as much of Canada's oil, and with the proximity advantage, Venezuela's oil will be cheaper to ship. Second, inflationary pressure is going to shift. With more oil in the market, energy prices drop. But don't think for a second this means prices at the pump will stay low for long. Here's why. The U.S. is controlling the supply. They can tweak the flow, the price, and how fast that money comes in. What happens if this continues? simple. Energy prices are manipulated on a global scale, and you're left watching the game unfold without knowing who's really pulling the strings. But let's step back for a second. What does all this mean for you? For the average person, this isn't just a story about oil companies or geopolitics. It's about real, everyday impact. You're going to feel this shift in your wallet. Energy costs drop, sure, but that's just the surface. The real kicker, when oil prices stabilize, everything else gets cheaper. Gasoline, heating, transportation, even plastic products. Your everyday cost of living could actually drop. But here's the catch. The money's not going to go where you think it will. The real winners in this reset will be those who own assets. Gold, silver, mining stocks, real estate. If this feels familiar, like you've seen this before, say so in the comments, because what's happening in Venezuela right now is about to hit people like you where it hurts, unless you start thinking about how to position yourself right now. Now, let's go beyond the headlines and talk about the system behind all this. Because while the world focuses on Venezuela's oil, it's the mechanism of this entire situation that matters most. You're seeing leverage at play here. Venezuela has oil, but the U.S. has the infrastructure, the capital, and the political muscle to make sure it flows to their benefit. The system of global energy supply is being reshaped, and this has huge implications for the dollar. As more countries see the power the U.S. holds over the oil market, they're starting to realize that maybe the dollar isn't as safe as they thought. That's why countries are rushing to buy gold, silver, and other assets to shield themselves. Venezuela joining the BRICS is a massive signal that we're entering a new phase of dollar decline, and it's happening right under your nose. But here's the unsettling truth. This reset won't just affect the global economy. It'll change how money flows, and it's going to hit your portfolio in ways you're not prepared for. So what's next? The future isn't set in stone, but we're looking at two possible paths. First, the quick route. Venezuela's oil starts flowing faster than expected thanks to U.S. investment and expertise. The infrastructure is rebuilt, oil prices stabilize, and energy costs drop, putting pressure on global markets. That's the best-case scenario for consumers, but it's a massive windfall for U.S. oil companies and investors who have already positioned themselves. The second path, it's slower, messier, and filled with roadblocks. It takes years to rebuild Venezuela's oil industry to full capacity. The political situation remains uncertain, and the impact on global energy markets is more gradual. Either way, the momentum is already building. And one thing is clear, this shift is coming. The question is, will you be ready when it does? Let me leave you with one final thought. This isn't just about Venezuela's oil or even the immediate shift in energy prices. It's about the larger global reset that's unfolding. The next decade is going to be defined by who controls energy, gold, and the global financial system. You don't need to be a market expert to see this. You need to understand what's happening right now, how to position yourself in it, and how to protect your wealth as the system transforms. Gold, silver, energy, mining stocks, these are the assets you need to watch. The question is, are you going to be on the right side of this shift? If you found this video valuable, don't wait. Subscribe for more deep dives into the economic resets that could change your financial future. And if you're serious about taking action, book your free strategy call today. This is only the beginning.